Welcome! So if you're gearing up to tackle the BA first-year history unit on the Mauryas for your LPU or other university exams, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down this massive, incredibly important empire and make the whole thing clear, highly visual, and honestly impossible to forget. I know history can sometimes feel like just a giant pile of dates and names, but we are going to treat this like the epic story it actually is. Let's get right into it.
Do you know who built India's first vast and powerful empire? It's a really fascinating question to kick things off with, isn't it? We so often hear about all these massive dynasties and shifting kingdoms in our history books, but the actual foundation of a truly unified, monumental state on the subcontinent, well, that whole idea starts right here.
And more specifically, how did Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusara, and Emperor Ashoka change the entire course of Indian history? Because, these three figures weren't just your standard run-of-the-mill rulers. No way. They were the brilliant architects of an era that completely redefined how a government works, how territorial expansion happens, and even how political philosophy itself is applied to millions of people.
And finally, how on earth did Ashoka transform from a war-loving king into a Dharma-loving emperor? Guys, this is literally one of the most incredible, dramatic character arcs in all of human history. To go from commanding these brutal, massive conquests to completely flipping the script and spreading a message of universal peace, it's astonishing. And we are going to break down exactly how that happened in today's explainer.
Okay, let's look at our agenda for this session. First, we'll cover the foundation of the Mauryan Empire. Then, their administration and important texts. Third is Bindusara's empire expansion. Fourth, Emperor Ashoka and Dhamma. And finally, the decline of the Mauryan Empire.
Moving right along, let's transition into Section 1, the foundation of the Mauryan Empire. We're looking at exactly how the first great Indian empire was actually built.
Okay, so this beautifully illustrates the chronological flow of the three great kings we're going to examine today. You've got Chandragupta Maurya stepping onto the stage in 322 BCE. He's followed by his successor Bindusara in 297 BCE, and then it all culminates with Emperor Ashoka starting his reign in 268 BCE. Getting this timeline locked in your mind is absolutely crucial. It creates a mental framework for organizing all the historical events we're about to cover.
So to really understand the rapid, almost explosive rise of Chandragupta Maurya, we have to look closely at the political climate of his early life. The ruling Nanda dynasty was faltering, they were losing their grip, and following Alexander the Great's military campaigns, the whole northwestern region of the subcontinent was just left completely fragmented. It was basically a massive power vacuum. Now, with the sheer strategic brilliance of his mentor, Chanakya, Chandragupta capitalized on this exact post-Alexander environment. And let's be clear, Chanakya wasn't just some casual advisor. He was a brilliant, highly motivated, and frankly vengeful mastermind of political strategy. Together, they essentially played a giant game of chess. They systematically ended the Nanda rule, pulled together all those fragmented territories, and successfully established a Khan Bharat, an undivided India. It was a real game changer.
All right, transitioning to Section 2 now, administration and important texts. If we want to understand how they managed this vast empire, we have to look at the documents that laid out the rules.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how we can contrast our two major historical sources. On one side, we've got Megasthenes' Indica. Now, Megasthenes gives us this vivid, almost cinematic observational picture of Mauryan society and the incredibly bustling capital city of Pataliputra. It's very much about what things looked and felt like. But then on the other side, we have Kautilya's Arthashastra. Kautilya, who is of course also known as Chanakya, wrote what is essentially the ultimate master manual on statecraft. It details the gritty mechanics of the state. We're talking strict governance, highly complex tax systems, massive administrative frameworks, and the whole economic engine. If you want a quick tip for your exams, remember it like this. Indica is for understanding the society, and the Arthashastra is your go-to for the hardcore economy and administration.
But obviously, the story doesn't end with the guy who founded the whole thing. The question becomes, to what heights did Bindusara and then later Ashoka take the Mauryan Empire after Chandragupta had established the foundation?
And that brings us right into Section 3, Bindusara's empire expansion, where we look at how they grew and maintained those massive borders.
Bindusara is sometimes sort of squeezed historically between two absolute giants. But make no mistake, his reign was absolutely vital. He was directly responsible for a massive expansion of the empire's borders. He pushed the empire deep into entirely new territories. But here is the really crucial part. He didn't just conquer a place and move on. He actually ensured the continuation of that incredibly strong administrative grip that Chanakya and Chandragupta had set up. He managed to keep this massive, complicated bureaucratic machine running smoothly over a much larger landmass, which is a seriously impressive feat of governance.
Let's move along and see how this all builds into the climax of our history in Section 4. Emperor Ashoka and Dhamma, the incredible transformation of a conqueror. For a second, I want you to really visualize this moment. Imagine you are Emperor Ashoka, standing out there on the battlefield right after the Kalinga War. Seeing total destruction all around brings a profound, heavy change in your mind. You've just won this massive, definitive military victory, but it came at the immense cost of countless lives and just widespread, absolute ruin. The sheer, overwhelming scale of the suffering completely shatters your previous worldview as a conqueror. It's a completely life-altering realization.
So the crucial takeaway here is this step-by-step transformation from a ruthless conqueror to one of history's absolute greatest champions of public welfare and peace. It all kicks off with the devastating Kalinga War. Confronted with the staggering estimated death toll of over 100,000 people, Ashoka makes the radical, unprecedented decision to just abandon war entirely in favor of peace and nonviolence. And this direct shift leads to the adoption of his famous Dhamma policy, which was this comprehensive moral and ethical code for living. Consequently, his entire state apparatus, the whole machinery of the empire, pivoted to a massive focus on public welfare, or Jana Kalyan. He started prioritizing the well-being and happiness of his subjects way above any further military expansion.
But think about the logistics for a second. How do you actually communicate this brand new policy of Dhamma to millions of regular people spread across an entire subcontinent without the internet or modern media? Well, Ashoka did it through monumental architecture. It was brilliant. He spread his message across the empire using these massive carved rock edicts and grand, highly polished stone pillars. By deliberately placing these enormous inscriptions in busy public spaces, at the borders, and along highly trafficked trade routes, he basically ensured that his moral guidelines for living a peaceful, dutiful life were visible to absolutely everyone. It was the ancient world's version of mass communication.
However, as we know, like all great epochs in history, this golden era eventually comes to an end. That brings us to Section 5, the decline of the Mauryan Empire.
Now, I want to carefully walk you through these specific contributing factors to the empire's fall, mostly because this is a highly important list to commit to memory for your exams. It's basically a domino effect. First, we see weak successors taking the throne right after Ashoka. They simply lacked his commanding authority and his unifying vision. And that weakness directly led to mounting administrative difficulties. I mean, holding such a vast, incredibly diverse territory together became practically impossible without really strong central leadership. Then, add to that severe economic problems. Maintaining that massive bureaucracy and army we talked about earlier began to seriously drain the treasury. So, ultimately, all these combined internal pressures caused the eventual, tragic disintegration of the empire.
Okay, let's quickly summarize the core value points here to make sure we've got it all. If you want to absolutely master this unit, these are the main pillars you must know. First, understand the strategic rise of the Mauryas and Chandragupta. Second, know exactly how to contrast the societal views found in the Indica with the hardcore administrative rules in the Arthashastra. Third, remember Bindusara's vital role in territorial expansion. Fourth, Ashoka's profound personal transformation leading to the policy of Dhamma. And finally, the specific multi-layered internal causes of the empire's decline. Understanding these interconnected topics thoroughly will honestly allow you to confidently solve almost any exam question thrown at you on this chapter.
As we wrap up this session, I want to leave you with a really fascinating historical question to debate as you continue your studies. Did Ashoka's radical pivot to peace and nonviolence ultimately weaken the military readiness of the empire, directly contributing to its fall? Or did it actually cement the empire's eternal legacy in history, making it far greater and more remembered than just another temporary military conquest? It's something to think about, for sure. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Keep questioning the past, keep analyzing those connections, and best of luck with your exam preparation. You're going to do great.